Welcome to The East Angle, a podcast about the East, broadly defined, exploring international relations, politics, and history. When time allows, we will also delve into world events and our shared passion for football. I'm Ra Mason, and this is my co-host, Sherzod Muminov.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of 2026 for our East Angle podcast. Today we have a guest from Japan. Miyama Junichi sensei from Chuo University. Mind you, he hasn't just landed from Japan. He's been in Norwich for a few months now, but we've taken this opportunity to invite him to the podcast, and Ra will introduce Miyama sensei.
I will. Thank you, Sherzod. And I will also allow Miyama Sensei to introduce himself, because I think he has plenty to say about life here in Norwich and how he's been doing. But I should say that Miyama Sensei is a very distinguished professor of Japanese history. He has covered some amazing topics, including public record, history of Meiji Isshin, the Meiji Restoration, the Boshin War. So things which are really foundational to creating modern Japan. So we are absolutely honored and thrilled to have him with us today. Welcome, Miyama Sensei.
Welcome. I am especially pleased to have a historian, especially a historian who, as you say, talks about how modern Japan actually came to be. He's written a book which he very kindly gave to both of us.
Chasing each other on.
About the Meiji Restoration, which any student of Japanese history will know was the foundational event. Basically, Japan didn't suddenly appear in 1868, but Japan became what we call a modern nation. Modern, obviously, in the Western style kind of nation-state format, or maybe remodeled if you want. But we won't start with the Meiji Restoration. We will start
with the man himself.
With the man himself. We will ask Miyama Sensei to tell us a little bit about himself, to tell us about his time now in Norwich. So when did you come? What are you doing? What kind of research are you doing here? How have you found Norwich and England in general? Is this your first time in England or not the first time? All of those questions.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Ra Sensei. Hello, Sherzod Sensei. Thank you for so much having me. I have been listening to this podcast for a few months.
Fantastic.
So I'm very honored to be here. But I'm still a bit nervous. Please be gentle with me.
We will.
As you mentioned, my name is Junichi Miyama. I'm from Chuo University in Hachioji City. Hachioji City is west of Tokyo.
Great place.
Yes. I'm currently spending my sabbatical here in Norwich as a visiting scholar at SISJAC.
SISJAC, for those who don't know, Sainsbury Institute for the Study of Japanese Arts and Cultures, which is located in the fine city of Norwich, right next to the Norwich Cathedral. Please continue.
Thank you. My specialization is modern Japanese history from the 19th to 20th century. My research themes include memory studies, the pre-war and post-war imperial system, Tennōsei, and the Meiji Restoration. Well, I knew I wanted to do research using UK archives. Honestly, I was hesitating between London or Cambridge. But I asked my colleague, Professor Kobayashi Kenichi, he is an archaeologist. He introduced me to Professor Simon Kena,
who is the executive director of the SISJAC. Yes.
The Simon gave me such a warm reply, so I decided to come here. But I had never been to Norwich, and also I have a wife and two children. We checked online and found that Norwich is a very safe and comfortable city.
Safest in the country.
Safest in the country. Yes, thank you. That's an amazing introduction. Also, maybe I will take this opportunity to, if there are any Japanese scholars or scholars who are based in Japan who want to do research on Japan or Japan-UK relations in Norwich, I think this was a very good advertisement for coming to Norwich and staying here. It is a very safe city, as you say. We are very proud, not just because of this podcast, but overall as a Japanese studies community here. We have a very good, vibrant Japanese studies community. So please come and please, maybe we'll have you on the podcast.
If you're lucky.
Over to you, Ra.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you a kind of opening question, if you like, Miyama Sensei. One of the things that Sherzod and I talk about a lot on this podcast is the popularity of Japan. So why do you think Japan is so popular at the moment?
It's a very interesting question, but I think that there are several factors, reasons, and the purely economically speaking, that cheap yen, weak yen, is a huge factor. To be honest, living in the UK right now, it's quite painful for me.
Because you're the reverse of the tourist. All the tourists who are going to Japan are benefiting from the enyasu, from the very favorable rate. Whereas if you're coming from Japan and you're still paid in Japan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just so people understand this. So once upon a time, the yen was very strong, which means that you could get something like, at the peak, you could get about 120 yen to £1 back in after the financial crisis. Now it's more than 200 yen to the pound, right?
For much of the Cold War, actually, and if we speak in dollar terms, because some of our listeners will probably not know how much a pound is if you're listening abroad. Basically, for much of the Cold War, the rough kind of exchange rate between US dollar and Japanese yen was about 100. So 100 was the number, which stayed for a few decades. With some fluctuations, 100 was the number, and it was very easy. You just took off two of the zeros and to convert the Japanese yen into dollars. That is all out of the window now. £1 is about 200 yen now, or even more than 200 yen. Yeah. Sorry, Miyama Sensei, please continue.
Yeah, especially since Takaichi and I became Prime Minister, it has been tough. But so for the tourists from Europe, it's paradise in Tokyo.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
One dinner in London buys 2 high-end sushi meals in Tokyo.
Yeah, easily, right? Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I mean, high-end sushi meals that would absolutely knock your socks off.
And then also they were not very expensive to begin with.
Yeah.
Now they are, just to give you some ideas, like a normal bowl of ramen, pretty much anywhere in Japan, will cost something in the range of 800 to maybe 1,200 yen, depending on the toppings. Maybe with inflation, these prices are very old prices
That's a fiver. That's a fiver. People listening in Britain, that is basically a fiver. You're getting
6 pounds.
Ramen dinner for just over a fiver.
Yeah.
When I was student, about 20 years ago, so Japan's economy was stronger. So I could work part-time and save enough to money, enough to watch Arsenal in London.
Wow.
Real Madrid in Spain. So, but for students today, it is not easy at all.
Although I'd be surprised if any student wants to come to watch Arsenal.
Of course they will. Okay, so we will speak more about Arsenal, and we will also speak more about Takaichi Sanae, who has become this a big talking point everywhere in the world, I guess. I think more recently we just heard an episode by the Rest is Politics episode, actually specifically on her. So she, the world is taking note. Thank you. This is a really interesting answer. What about other reasons? So you mentioned economically, yes, we all know that it's now is the right time to go to Japan. Is it just the yen? Is anything else happening?
Several reasons, but I should also mention the cultural aspect. So I was born in 1982.
Same age.
Yes. And I grew up with Dragon Ball, Slam Dunk, Captain Tsubasa, and other mangas. And I used to play the family computer or Nintendo. And but back then, my mother always scolded me, stop reading manga. They were considered bad habits, at least until early 1990s. So we had to read manga in secret. So manga, anime, games are very important parts of Japanese culture that have been built up by creators and fans. But as I love them too, but seeing them praised as cool Japan by the government and the foreign people is a bit weird for our generation.
Sure. Yeah, but you're right. It is a very, very important factor. I mean, but I think there's two aspects to Japanese popularity in that way, right? There's this kind of exciting modern manga, techno, cyber type stuff. And then there's also the kind of stereotypical ancient Japan as well. So as a historian, why should students study Japanese history?
There are many positive aspects to Japan's popularity, but as I am a historian, I have a concern about cool Japan. The foreign praise for Japanese culture, saying Japanese history is unique, Japanese culture is amazing, is actually reinforcing conservative historical view. So it encourages a narrative that Japan is special. It reminds me of the pre-war ideology.
Right,
Or maybe even post-war, you had the Nihon Jinron theory, because, like, obviously in economic terms, Nihon Jinron was this, like, very brief explanation, was a theory of Japanese exceptionalism, but not in nationalist terms, because you couldn't go back to nationalism. You couldn't say, Japan is the leader of Asia because we are, we are the first modernized nation, or you couldn't bring race into it. But you could say Japanese management is much better than other managements, or Japanese work ethic is so much better. That's why Japan is. So Nihon Jinron was quite popular, partly also because people used it to feel pride, a little bit pride in a nation that was defeated and wasn't allowed to have any pride in itself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think what Sherzod is driving at, right, is that every country, every state has some kind of national myth.
Oh, has to. That's kind of a part and parcel of being a nation.
Yeah. So is it really the case that Japan's nationalistic history is particularly problematic? I mean, why do you see it as such a problem? Is it because it drives nationalism?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. The idea that the imperial line unbroken, unlike European royalty, Japan is the only Asian country that modernized on its own. And the conservative parties like Sanseto, Sanseto is in English.
It's kind of like Japan first.
Yeah, we have actually spoken about Sanseto in one of our episodes. People compare it to, some people compare it to AfD in Germany. Some people compare it to reform in this country. Yeah. So it's a populist, right-wing, anti-immigrant
essentially a nationalist party.
A nationalist party, yeah.
Yes. Also, Sanseto use this sentiment. So they mix historical facts and with ancient myths like the Kojiki and emphasize the unbroken imperial line. So their goal is to convince young people that Japan is spiritually superior to countries. However, it creates an illusion of superiority linked to xenophobic idea.
Right. Yeah.
Which sorry, go on, Ra.
No, I was going to say, I think there is a problem with xenophobia in Japan at the moment. And I think what you're talking about is interesting because it creates a kind of authority to that xenophobia, right? So a lot of the xenophobia we've talked about on this podcast is about foreigners, usually annoying foreigners, turning up in Japan, chucking rubbish away without separating it, or sitting on the pavement, or making noise in their apartment.
Sometimes doing even more annoying things like, filming loud videos on trains, not following rules.
Sure, but I think Miyama Sensei's point is interesting because what you're saying is that the kind of myths that Sanseto or other right-wing parties create are actually allowing people in Japan to believe that they are superior. So they kind of have a right to be xenophobic, right? Yeah.
But that's what nationalism does, doesn't it? Like, the other day in Manchester, there was this massive Britain First rally, which is basically a fascist rally. People say don't call all of them fascists. Well, I call them what I see, and some of them were doing these like Nazi salutes and Nazi Sieg Heils. But I mean, they're not all like that, obviously. But basically, all of them are harking back to this better Britain, the great Britain, when there were no foreigners in Britain, when, you could do these things, you could just, all these traditional things, you could only marry white people. I guess that's what they mean by that, because I personally don't understand. Basically, what I'm trying to say is every right-wing movement will try to take you back. That's kind of the like we will return to the essence, we will restore the greatness, all of that kind of nostalgia. Obviously, it's a populist message. Why does anime and manga or any kind of Japanese worshipping, if you want, of Japanese culture, why is that a bad thing? And how does that then connect to that nationalism, if I may ask? It's a bit of a complicated question. No,
or do you think it does connect? Like, do you think there is a connection between current manga, anime, popular culture, and the nationalist myths that you're talking? Is there a connection?
その漫画とかアニメとかがどういうふうに日本のナショナリズムにこう結びついてそれが認識されているかということですね。海外のその人たちが今すごく漫画アニメが人気があって、読んでくれていて、でそれがまあ日本の文化として紹介されていることはすごくいいことだと思うんですけど、それで日本の文化すごいとか日本は特別だみたいな意識っていうのが生まれてきて、その中身のコンテンツじゃないんですよ。こういう漫画が読まれてるっていう、これが面白いとかワンピースがどうだとかそういうことじゃなくて、それが日本ってなんか特別だっていう感覚をそういうところから日本のその若い人たちが得ている。で、それをうまく利用して、政治賛成とか保守勢力が自分たちの票集めにうまく利用してるっていう、そういう構造が今あるっていう。
それが問題ですという意見ですね。はいはい。
で、シャーソンがもう疑問にしているのは、それもどこの国でもなんか
どこの国でも当たり前じゃないですかと。
だから
それは
日本では特別になんか問題になっているのかっていう問い合わせ。
例えばイギリスの保守もドイツの AFD もみんなこんなこと言ってるじゃないですか。なぜに、はい。
でもだからこそ問題じゃないですか。
それは
僕はもう逆に
もちろんそれは
だからこそ問題なんですよ。
もちろんそれは問題ですけど、でも民主主義という文脈の中では誰でも自分の意見とかそれを言って特に政治家だったら政治家は自分のその目的を得るためにいろんなことを使って利用していろんなミスとかいろんな伝説とかいろんなものをいろんな歴史をアイディアを全部集めてこれが多分うまくいくと思ってこういうことを言ったら今の日本の少年青年たちはこれがうまくいくとそれを利用してそれは日本だけじゃないですね。それはイギリスでもそうです。
でも現象としては確かなんか問題になってきて、もうこの特にこういうふうに世界化されてるということは、もうそれも多分かなり怖い流れであって。
怖いんです。本当に怖いんです。
では特別に最近は賛成、だって2、3年間前に賛成とっていうのも全然人気なかったんでしょ。だからそういう流れの方向が、
which leads to my next question.
Okay. Go ahead.
英語に変わってもいいですか？
もちろん。
はい。So all of this leads to the question of migration. I have been railing about this for a long time on this podcast and elsewhere, that the migrant is the biggest scapegoat now. The migrant is the one who is actually responsible for all the ills in the West somehow, if you listen to some politicians, some populist people. And also in Japan, you see, like we did mention some of those annoying and some of those like really insensitive, like, Jake Paul, I think, or Logan Paul, one of those. Like one of the brothers actually went to the Aokigahara forest, and you know this story very well. I think it was 2018. And you cannot film. You're not allowed by law to film in Aokigahara forest, which is known as the suicide forest. And he actually filmed a dead body hanging from a tree, for which he was actually banned briefly from YouTube. I think he then deleted the video, but on the internet, nothing is deleted. So there are foreigners who do all these things, tourists who do all these things, and all of that kind of adds grist to the mill of anti-migrant behavior. And it's, as we just said, it's a global phenomenon. It's not just happening in Japan, or it's not just happening in Britain or Germany. So on the other hand, there is the reality, and the hard reality is that these advanced post-industrial Western societies, which are rich societies, which increasingly have, Japan obviously more so than Britain, but even Britain and Germany will catch up, have a lot of people who don't actually who are not economically active, who are retired or who need care. So the reality is Japan needs migrants. Whether you like it or not, whether they behave or misbehave, whether they cook smelly food and throw trash on the ground, it doesn't matter. You have to make a choice. And I've been saying this for a long time. And I'm really, really interested in your opinion on this. So does Japan have to accept more migrants? And if not, how does Japan then solve all of these problems that, populism will probably be the least of worries if we consider what the Japanese society is facing. The aging population, stagnant economy for the fourth decade now, and all the other social issues.
Yeah, thank you. My answer is simple. Yes, we must. We have no choice. Yeah, as you know, as you say, our population is shrinking rapidly. The society cannot function without foreign workers anymore. Convenience stores, construction sites, the nursing homes, they all rely on them. But the problem is how we accept them. Currently, the system views them as a cheap labor. A typical example is the technical intern training program. 外国人技能実習生. Officially, it is for international contribution to transfer skills to a developing country. But in reality, it is just a way to get cheap workers for up to 5 years. So if we accept immigrants, we must provide a system where they can live with peace of mind. For example, language support. In Japan, if you don't speak Japanese, life is very hard because most Japanese people don't speak foreign language. So according to a survey by English conversation education company, less than 7% of Japanese people can speak practical English.
Seven.
Seven.
Wow.
I think the percentage must be higher. At least there's a higher percentage of people who understand English, yes. But they will probably not venture to speak it. My kind of experience with Japanese people is, even if they have decent English, they will probably still be a little bit shy. Is it not shyness?
I think Miyama says that you said practical speaking, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many Japanese people, as you say, many Japanese people understand basic English grammar, but we can't converse because they lack speaking experience. So, the coming to the UK, I felt that this country is used to migrants. There are many places to learn English for free or cheaply, like the public library, church. Actually, my two children attend a public school here in Norwich. At first, they couldn't speak English at all, but thanks to the supportive teachers, they are now much better at English than me.
No, I'm sure that's not true.
Children learn two factors there. Children learn very quickly. Obviously, depends on age, but children generally learn very quickly. And two, I think we have to, and again, this is not to challenge your point, Miyama Sensei, but we have to also take account of the differences in how accessible English tuition is globally. or how desirable some people find speaking English. Even when, let's put it this way, even when a native speaker of English wants to practice or wants to speak a language of a certain country, most people will speak back in English to them. For example, just very similar kind of mirror example of my two children going to a Japanese public school while we stayed in Sendai. And my kids, because they grew up here, they are native speakers of English. Although they speak also Uzbek at home, but they speak English with one another. So for them, the most natural language is English. And they did stay in Sendai, and they went to a local public school, and everybody actually tried to speak English with them. I really hope that maybe if they play with some Japanese kids, maybe they will pick up some Japanese. But no, maybe Ra's son has a bilingual upbringing from the beginning, so his experiences will be different. But my kids' experience is kind of a little bit different from what I'm trying to say. I guess the point is, if you are a native speaker of English, this is not to blame anybody, or the way the world works is that if you're a native speaker of English, everybody tries to speak English to you somehow. At least that was my kids' experience. They didn't mind it. I minded a little bit because I wanted them to pick up a little bit of Japanese. Whereas if you're coming to an English-speaking country, I think your motivation is also to speak English, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
most
yeah.
of the time, or at least parents won't mind. Oh, you know what? Your kid is learning English. Oh, yeah, that's great. I don't know any parent who will be unhappy if their child is speaking very good English. So I guess, again, goes back obviously to history and history of imperialism and everything.
Well,
else.
actually, exactly. So on that point, I was wondering. It kind of leads to our next question on that. I think most foreigners in Japan feel both welcomed on the one hand, but also discriminated against on the other. And I think some of it is to do with the reaction to migrants that you talked about. Do you think part of that is because of the political elite? Is it that the elite haven't kind of accepted Japan's modern history, so there's a sense in which in Japan you come and you're expected to learn Japanese or fit in or follow the rules, and so is it something that the political elite need to change? Is it their reaction to history? And
Or is the Japanese political elite kind of stopping Japan from being more global?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And part of this is to do with the conservative nature of the Japanese political elite, right?
Yeah.
The LDP in particular, but more generally, the Japanese political elite are, generally speaking, very conservative. So is that influencing how Japan and maybe Japanese people more broadly kind of welcome migrants and globalize and become more kind of, I guess, used to having a very international population? So, do you think that Japanese elites are responsible partly for this approach by Japan to migrants? Do the Japanese elite, maybe politicians, conservative think tank leaders,
Commentators.
newspaper
media,
editors, do these people need to change the narrative and policies to affect modern Japanese society positively?
So in a way connected to the xenophobia that we discussed
Exactly,
in
exactly, yeah.
answering the previous question.
History is not about facts, but a tool to gain support. So what is serious is that this narrative is being accepted by many people. So I think the root cause is a fading memory of World War II. Striking example is changing interpretation of grave of the Firefly. So I watched it as a child. So we simply felt sympathy for Seita and Setsuko. But recently, on the social media, some people say it was Seita's own fault.
So just to give people a little bit of context here. So for those of you that haven't seen Hotaru no Haka, Grave of the Fireflies, this is an amazing film by renowned director Miyazaki Hayao.
It's
Studio Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli, but sorry to correct you. It's
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. Yeah. The actual
Isao, Takahata Isao.
Yeah.
Takahata Isao is the director. Sorry, this is not
No,
to pull you up.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Miyazaki Hayao is the original director of Studio Ghibli, but Grave of the Fireflies.
But they cooperated.
Yes.
So Takahata made his own films and Miyazaki made his own films, but they all came out as a Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
Okay. So Studio Ghibli film, and the two main characters are a boy and his younger sister, and they are left parentless because their parents are killed in the war, and the boy has to look after the sister, and he does an amazing job of trying to say she dies. It's a very, very
They
sad
both
film.
die in the end. Yeah.
We don't get to see whether he dies or not, right? But
he starts by saying, "On this day, I died." But anyway, without spoiling it too much. Sorry.
I mean, in the course of the film, you don't get to see that he dies. She dies.
Okay.
You actually
We're turning this into an argument about.
well, I'll let you
No. I just don't want to spoil it too much. But anybody who is interested in Japanese history, especially the history of the war, and we actually recently with Japan Foundation, we had an event specifically devoted to the Grave of the Fireflies, where we all spoke about it. Basically, the idea is, it's the idea of, I mean, you can as most beautiful and complex works of art, you can interpret it in different ways. A lot of people have interpreted it as a victimhood story, as a story of, for example, people in China. Some critics in China say, "Oh, this just glorifies Japanese victimhood." Yes, it uses kind of children to, to make it acceptable, but it is actually just Japanese victimhood. Some people will say, no, this is a pure story of what happens to children in war, and it remains quite relevant.
So this is why Miyama Sensei is talking about it, right? Because the blame has been shifted.
The blame has been shifted. So that is also another interpretation that Miyama Sensei is saying. Sorry.
Thank you. They argue, so if he hadn't left his aunt's house, they couldn't have died.
Yeah.
Then they ask, why didn't the work? It's his responsibility that his sister died. Seita was just 14 years old. Boy. So this shows that people can no longer grasp the reality of war. So what can historians do? I realized that traditional methods, just showing facts, so are not enough. There is a famous book in Japan called ナチスはいいこともしたのか? Did the Nazis also do good things?
No, I haven't read it. No.
Okay. So it was written by Onodera Takuya, Tano Daisuke. They are historians. It was published by 2023. It uses a fact to debunk revisionist myths of Nazi, such as construction of the Autobahn, recovering the economy of Germany. It's an excellent book, but it didn't stop rumors on the social media. In fact, the counter reaction often gets stronger. Fact-checking is important as a historian, of course, but not enough. So we need to understand why people want to believe in these narratives. That is why I started studying the structure of collective memories. Like Pierre Nora.
Okay. Okay, great.
And this is why we should also study politics.
Absolutely. You can't separate the two. This is a good time for a quick break, and then we will come back and talk about academia. We are back from the break, and we have some more questions. Obviously, time is limited. We have tons of questions, but let me ask a question about Japanese universities, Japanese academia, maybe. If you want, please feel free to compare Japanese universities to British universities, or maybe just focus on Japanese universities. A lot of our audience is either international students or young people who want to become international students. I personally have been telling a lot of the people in my country that this traditional so-called West, current anti-migrant sentiments, is probably not the best place to go, especially countries like the United States, where getting a visa is much harder. I'm obviously encouraging people to go to study to Japan. So my question is, why should, if you are a young person, say somewhere in Asia, or not necessarily Asia, anywhere in the world, why should you go and study in Japan? What is good about Japanese universities, do you think?
The numbers are shocking. So by 2035, the population of 18 years old will drop below 1 million.
In Japan?
Yeah.
In the whole country, 1 million.
1 million.
Wow.
So 18 is the age when students take university entrance exam. So Japan has about 800 universities, and 80% are private. The many will simply not survive. So we need foreign students.
Yeah, not just migrants, not just workers who work in the company, not just care workers, but actually students who will come and study in those universities.
Yes.
That's one good reason to consider Japan.
外国から留学生に来てほしいんですけど、で日本の大学はそれに対して努力はしてるんですけど、今すごく来てる国が限定されてるという状態だと思います。多分イギリスから日本、ヨーロッパから日本に留学に来る学生っていうのはすごく少ないと思います。一部の東京大学とかは早稲田とか少しまだいると思うんですけど、中央大学は日本の大学、私がいる中央大学は日本大学の中だと3番手ぐらいの大学なんですけど、大体アジアの国からしか来ない。
中国ですね、今だったら。
中国と、あとそうですね、韓国とかも少し来るくらいの状態です。
この理由はですね、グローバル化をしたいと、もう何年も日本の大学はグローバル30とかグローバル化しましょうという努力をしている、じゃないですか。でもいまだにおっしゃる通りイギリスとかヨーロッパから日本に来る学生さんのほとんどは日本語を学びに、日本文学とか日本文化を勉強に来る人じゃないですか。日本語を学ばなくても、日本文化、日本研究をしなくても、日本の大学に留学したいという人の数が増えるようにするように何をした方がいいですか、日本の大学としては。
まさに社会に開いていくことだと思うんですけど、それは
社会的問題につなげるんですね、これも。
あれに
つなぐんです。
別のそのアカデミア、イギリスとのアカデミアとの違いでその感じたことと多分今の質問は重なると思うんですけど、それは英語で答えられるので
どうぞ。
ちょっとお待ちください。The discussion here in the UK are more open and generous. As you know, so Japanese academia is very divided. So history, literature, politics, art, everything is separated into.
We have quite a lot of that here too.
Yeah,
anyway, please don't let me.
So even within history, I sometimes struggle to understand what ancient or medieval.
Same here. Same here. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, but compared to that, here in the UK, researchers have strong basis, but they discuss freely across field. So that same very institute and UEA are good places for that.
Interdisciplinary.
Yeah, we love this word interdisciplinary.
And in reality too, we do it too. We do it. I mean, again, this is tooting our own horn here, but interdisciplinarity is the way forward, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry,
Yes.
Miyama Sensei, go on.
This podcast is too. It is interdisciplinary and open to society. You two are participating exactly what the model of academia should be.
Well, thank you. Please tell our boss.
Thank you.
Because of this, the people think we shouldn't speak outside our own field.
We should stay in our lane. Yeah.
For example, in 2022, when Prime Minister Kishida Fumio decided on a state funeral for Shinzo Abe, so the public opinion in Japan was deeply divided. In fact, more than half of the public was against it. I had researched state funeral in the Meiji era. So I often spoke to the media, TV, newspaper, radio. I argued that state funerals were tools for the empire to control people.
Yeah.
And we don't need them today. Then I got bashed.
Yeah. If only they'd listened to you.
Yeah.
Think
Well,
all of that money they could have saved.
But that's
Abe-san's funeral. I mean,
that's the age-old kind of complaint that historians have. Everybody says, "Oh, we need to read history. History is important," but no one listens to historians when actually they give good advice. Unfortunately.
well, that's feel lucky because no one listens to politics lecturers ever about anything. So it's even worse for us. Okay, we're going to wrap up very shortly, Miyama Sensei, but I'm just wondering, actually, linked to that question, when you talk about the biggest challenges for Japanese academics, right? So obviously for historians, the challenge, as Sherzod said, is to be listened to, I guess.
We are used to it now. They don't listen to us and fine.
But do you think, you mentioned Abe, or the former Prime Minister Abe's state funeral, right? Right now in Japan, we have seen that support for revising the constitution is now 56%, right, among the population versus 38 against.
And Takaichi now has supermajority. She might do
Yeah.
what her mentor failed to do,
Right,
actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
So is this the biggest challenge for you as a Japanese academic?
Or Japanese left in general.
Yeah. Is the challenge educating the population to challenge this kind of nationalist direction?
Post World War II, Japan was completely defeated. So it looks like we recovered, but I don't think we truly changed inside. So peace constitution, 日本国憲法 protected us and kept us peaceful. But the old systems, like the imperial system and the bureaucrats and others, did not disappear. The legacy of the empire just changed its shape, but it stayed. So Japan is not completely new country. So the old structure is still here. Now, the ruling party, so the LDP, Jimmy Minstro, won a big victory in the election a few weeks ago. So, they will try to change the constitution. The constitution has been the main pillar protecting our peace. So if they change it now, I'm very worried about what will happen to Japan. I don't think we should mess with the constitution.
Okay. So do you teach that to your students?
Or maybe in the media, maybe
Yeah,
when
yeah,
people
exactly.
when people ask you questions, say newspapers.
It is a very difficult question. However, if I dare to answer, so Japan is often seen as an exceptional success story of modernization. This is a narrative of the Japanese state, and maybe many Europeans share it. But I disagree. I don't think Japan was necessarily a success. In fact, depending on how you look at it, it was a failure. So we modernized very quickly because we had many models like the UK, Germany, and US, and others. So, but this forced growth led to disastrous war. There is a quote by Elvin Beltz, and he is a German doctor who worked in Meiji Japan.
Belts. Yeah. He was the major emperor's doctor, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 親と外国人。He called Japan's modernization salto mortale, so in German, so death leap, 死の跳躍 in Japanese. It refers to dangerous somersault that could kill you. If you feel like Japan tried to jump too high to catch up with the West, but couldn't land properly, and ended up breaking its neck.
Wow.
Wise words and
Wise
really
words.
amazing lesson to wrap up the academic part of our podcast. And all that remains for us briefly to talk, and we have to talk about this, is football.
So, welcome back to the final part of this podcast, and maybe the most important part.
Most important part, most definitely.
We have heard a rumor that Miyama Sensei is a 20 years Arsenal fan. So why on earth would anyone, especially someone in Japan, support Arsenal for 20 years?
Yes, I played seriously until high school.
Oh, okay. Can we ask which position you played in?
I'm fullback.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Super cool.
So now I'm just a watcher. So I am
Left side, right side?
both.
Both.
Wow.
So
Two-footed.
you like two-footed. Okay. Okay. Amazing.
I'm a huge Arsenal fan, as you say. So I've been following them since Invincibles season.
2004.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then, and I followed Arsenal through TV highlights and magazines, and because Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
You know, as a child, and maybe there will be some who relate. Sorry for interrupting, but as a child, I genuinely believed that Arsenal was called because of Arsene Wenger. It was called Arsenal because of Arsene Wenger. So I'm sure there were there were other kids. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. He managed Nagoya Grampus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sir Alex famously said he's an expert in Japanese football, not in English football. Sorry. Yeah.
At that time, they played truly beautiful football. I especially loved Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah.
A lot of people like,
Yeah.
even non-Arsenal fans.
Yeah. To be fair, even
one of the
non-Arsenal
greats, one of the
fans,
football's greats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, as a fullback. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Of course, later
Exactly.
changed allegiances,
Yes, of
to put it mildly.
Gary Neville from Manchester United City. So Manchester United was also one of my favorite players.
So you like fullbacks.
Yeah.
So you like someone like Nagatomo, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Mitoma is not a proper fullback, is he? But
Well,
he
these days,
he likes to come in on the left.
Well, these days, fullbacks have become wingbacks. Right?
Not
So
in every system. With three at the back, yes, but fullbacks are inverting fullbacks. Pep Guardiola's fullbacks. So you like fullbacks more than because that's your favorite position, right?
Yes, favorite position. So yeah, I played fullback and center back.
Centre back.
And the wing.
Yeah.
On the wing as a winger.
Yeah. Wow, pretty diverse. So, Miyama Sensei, if we can, before you go, we should try and get you to come and play with our Wednesday night staff
Yes.
team.
Yes.
Please do.
And
You'd be
please
most
watch out
welcome.
for this guy's, sliding tackles, because especially if you're
If you're on the wing.
if you play fullback or if you are one of those, bombing down the wing kind of wingers, you know who will be coming for you. As someone who's played
Yeah.
against him, I know.
But we will send you the invite, definitely. Yeah, that would be brilliant. We play every Wednesday night and some Friday night.
So, speaking of Arsenal, do you know the term to bottle? You probably
Bottle, yeah.
This is a very
So,
specific English footballing term. And again, please don't be offended as an Arsenal fan, but I need to give you a little bit of context.
You could start with Tottenham. That would be a happier beginning.
So, especially as we are speaking 2 days after the London Derby, or was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yeah, 1 day after.
We could definitely
after the
talk
London
about
Derby.
bottlers.
Yes, that was. I mean, again, as a neutral fan, I think Tottenham's second goal should have stood. But again, I'm not here to argue. I'm talking about the one where Gabriel, who is not the
Scherzer's favourite player.
not the most gentlemanly player, should I say? Anyway, Arsenal won in that game, kind of bringing a little bit more confidence into the team, because for a few days, for a few games, it looked like Arsenal were going to bottle it again. So, everybody was at the Wolves game, which is one of Ra's favorite teams, Wolves. They were actually even chanting Arsenal second, because this has been the story of the last 3-4 seasons, Arsenal coming second. And some people were saying they will come second again, they will bottle it again. What do you think? Will Arsenal bottle it, or will they become champions for the first time in 22 years?
And will they become champions of 4 things? How many will they win? Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup.
They are now in the Carabao Cup final against City.
So how many?
Yeah, I want to Arsenal win, but it's too early.
Okay.
tell.
Okay.
So we have to wait for the 18th of April. Will you still be here in Norwich on the 18th of April, or will you be back in Japan in April?
April, so yes, I'm back to Japan.
Okay.
End of March.
The reason,
That's a shame.
that's a shame. The reason I ask is on the 18th of April we have the potential title decider between City and Arsenal. But at the moment, if City win the game, I mean, as we record, if City win the game they have in hand, the difference between the teams will be just 2 points. So, again, good luck to Arsenal. I mean, I'm a Manchester United fan. I won't mind so much if you win against City, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So, well,
Good luck.
good luck.
And thank you.
Thank you
Been an
for-
amazing guest, putting up with our bombarding questions.
Yeah, and and also the bilingual nature of this podcast is going to be quite unique. Very interesting answers. So thank you very much again, and all the best to you after you leave Norwich and go back to Japan.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you. This podcast has been produced with support from the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the University of East Anglia, UEA. The hosts are grateful to the UEA media production team. Technical assistance has been kindly provided by the technicians at the UEA Media Suite, who have also engineered and edited this episode. The views expressed in this podcast belong solely to those who express them and do not represent the views of the university or its affiliates.